what would make my birthday really special, apart from being with family and friends. It was reminding you that you're...
Did you know that when Ellen DeGeneres came out publicly in 1997, it nearly ended her career? LGBTQ rights were still being debated, so she lost deals. Her program at the time had low ratings, and she faced backlash from the industry. Fast forward to today, she and Portia de Rossi have built a life together. While their love story might be well known, people often wonder about another part of their life, their family. What does their family look like today? And how about their children? Let's find out. The chance encounter. Sometimes we experience moments that look like they have been ordained by fate, and in Ellen's story, we're not so far from the truth when we say fate was just the key player from the start. Ellen and Portia de Rossi first met at a Rock the Vote concert. Ellen DeGeneres left quite an impression on Portia de Rossi when she saw her quickly walking into the backstage area at a Rock the Vote concert. As soon as Ellen entered the room, Portia felt a sudden connection to Ellen. It was more like she was drawn to Ellen, and as she just stood there in front of Portia, she felt her inner self crumble with joy and shyness. The only problem at that time was Portia was still afraid of coming out because she was partly afraid of what would happen if she decided to follow her heart. Life continued like that, and the most important moment slipped through her fingers. Well, it was not until years later when fate decided to play matchmaking again, and Ellen and Portia got to see each other when their paths crossed at the VH1 Awards show in 2004. Here's something that's still not certain. Some people assert their interaction started at the VH1 Awards event, which was the first time they interacted. However, Portia suggests they met a year ago before the award during a previous Arrested Development photo shoot. It happened while sitting in the makeup chair, with a paper mask hiding her face. Ellen had walked into the room, and Portia's heart began to race as if her heartbeat had become an out-of-control train at that moment. Portia blushed bright red, but her face mask covered her reaction. Unaware of what was happening, Ellen just walked over and said hi to her. That was when Portia's knees began to fall under her because she couldn't believe Ellen had walked over to say hello. After she left, Portia had to muster up the courage to walk into Ellen's photo shoot in the company of Jeffrey Tambor for moral support. Their eyes found each other across the room, and Portia felt like she had been struck by lightning. She gripped Jeffrey's arm and held on to him like he was the owner of her life. Her knees buckled, and she felt they were just enclosed in that space. As they both exchanged small talk, the night gradually wore on, and at that moment, Portia decided to open up about her feelings. This surprised Ellen because she did not know Portia liked her that way. Did this mean it was finally going to lead to a relationship? For Portia, all she knew was she was brave enough to own up to her feelings. However, was she brave enough to face the world and its judgmental opinions? She didn't seem too sure. Coming out of the closet. Long before Portia met Ellen, long before they became a couple, and even long before Portia came out, Ellen had already made her coming out public. It was a moment that would be remembered in history, changing TV shows forever. On the 30th of April, 1997, Ellen DeGeneres found the courage and publicly outed herself as gay on the ABC sitcom, Ellen. DeGeneres played the character of Ellen Morgan, and she turned out to be the first gay or lesbian lead character on a U.S. network television show, which inadvertently made way for LGBTQ+ representation on screen. Years have passed since that episode that shook the earth. On an episode of her talk show, Ellen traveled back in time to remember the moment that changed her life and career forever. She aptly recalled the fallout of her coming out episode and the warnings from people who told her it would end her career. People warned me that it was going to ruin my career, and they were right for a while, DeGeneres confessed, her voice laced with a hint of irony. Actually, for exactly 3 years, I lost my career. However, as soon as she said that, her face lit up with a wide smile. But look at me now. While reflecting on her coming out episode, Ellen DeGeneres talked about how important it is for people to remain authentic. In contrast, others should try as much to accept genuine people just like themselves. She also reminisced about how much there was a lack of LGBTQ representation during her childhood. However, one person who was particularly special to her was a famous character from Peanuts, Peppermint Patty, mostly because the character embodied a great deal of self-confidence. That was the moment that changed her life forever. That historical event in television broadcasting that transformed Ellen's life was during the Puppy episode, broadcast on her TV program, where she revealed her identity regarding her orientation. In the episode, Ellen owned a bookstore, where she shared her secret with Susan after many unsuccessful attempts. The episode, however, marked a historic moment in American television history, since it opened up opportunities for presenting a more diverse range of stories and characters. Mark Driscoll also revealed to Entertainment Weekly in 2017 details about the successful coming out episode that Ellen DeGeneres had designed. He recalled the moment when DeGeneres assembled her staff behind the scenes to present her new season ideas and declared her decision to reveal herself publicly everywhere, including her show. Driscoll noted how happy the team members reacted to DeGeneres' revelation. Ultimately, the special episode gained DeGeneres an Emmy and a Peabody Award after its final season broadcast. After that declaration, Ellen showed up on Oprah's show, Yep, I'm Gay. However, the episode generated strong criticism when multiple TV stations rejected broadcasting it and businesses removed their ad spots. Mark Driscoll, who produced the show, reported that DeGeneres has always been such a private person, and she must have endured severe public scrutiny outside of her television persona. Driscoll also recalled the moment during an Oprah show where the audience aggressively responded to DeGeneres by speaking against her public acknowledgement of her sexual orientation. Their feelings of rage and hostility showed clearly when some of them turned red in anger. In the end, he compared the resistance of the crowd to the battle fought by protesters during the civil rights movement. In short, according to a 2015 study, DeGeneres had more influence on America's attitude toward the issue of gay rights than any other celebrity would have been able to. Former President Barack Obama even honored Ellen DeGeneres' bravery by giving her the Medal of Freedom following her coming out. The impact of Ellen's coming out wasn't just limited to the president acknowledging her, as individuals started having the courage to embrace their sexuality. This impact surprised Ellen even more because she did not expect to be the instrument of change worldwide. In her interview with People in 2014, DeGeneres said she thought everyone knew her and did not think a little adjective would define her. For Portia de Rossi, her journey to accepting herself and making herself known to the public about her sexuality was a huge step in her life, and Ellen DeGeneres was by her side the whole time to support and love her. De Rossi took a moment to reflect on Inside the Actor's Studio and tell how she eventually became brave enough to be who she truly is. In her story, she also talked about changing her name to Ellen's last name in 2010 and their beautiful wedding in 2008. During that moment of reflection, she realized that it wasn't long before she married Ellen that she made her come out public. After so many years, she finally felt comfortable being open about her sexuality, and it was at the Golden Globes that her show, Arrested Development, was nominated. Portia's coming out took a while because she believed she needed to sustain the perfect image as a young actress. However, the real truth behind not openly admitting who she was is that it was a suffocating feeling. She believed that her career depended on being viewed as a heterosexual woman, so she kept her true sexuality hidden. During that moment, Portia only felt like she was living an incomplete life. For her, the pressure to conform was intense, mostly because she was juggling too many responsibilities at once, sending money to her mom, paying her mortgage, and trying to keep up with the life she was putting out there, all the while feeling empty, unhappy, and unfulfilled. Portia couldn't help but wonder what her life would have been like if she had chosen another profession. Maybe she would have been happier. Maybe she would have come out earlier because being an actress just made her feel caged. She couldn't change the past, but she was sure that being honest about her sexuality would have brought her more happiness and success. It took Portia 10 years to finally feel comfortable talking about her life. Looking back at her career and loving relationship, she knew it was all worth it. For the first time, she lived the life she was supposed to and has been grateful for every second. Visibility and representation are not facts to be ignored, especially for youngsters looking for their lot in this universe, mostly because these role models can be lifesavers for LGBTQ+ youth. Portia de Rossi knows this because she knows the difference she can make in others' lives just by being who she is. She remembers the tale of Asher Brown, a 13-year-old boy who had problems with bullying that he decided not to live anymore. Looking back, Portia thinks that if Brown saw somebody like himself succeeding and happy, it probably would have somehow changed everything. As mentioned earlier, Ellen played an important role in Portia's journey when she outed herself in the late 90s. Ellen was a litmus test for the TV industry when she came out. She sent shockwaves to the community and did not give in to the pressure that came after. 3 years later, she vanished from the public and returned with a talk show that became an instant knockout. Portia remembers seeing the first episode, and she couldn't help the proud feeling and how much admiration she had for what Ellen had done. She did it. She came back. Years later, they winded up together and exchanged their vows in a beautiful ceremony in 2008. The wedding. The interesting revelation about Portia and Ellen's story is that they had no idea that years down the line, they would both cross paths and that meeting was going to somehow change their lives in ways they never thought of. After dating for almost a year, Ellen knew that Portia was the one. She even admitted this in her interview with People in 2013. "It's the first time that I've known in every cell of my being that I'm with somebody for the rest of my life," DeGeneres said. She added, "If it were legal, we would be married, but it's not legal." At this point, you might wonder, if she said it wasn't legal, how did they get married? Well, that's the beautiful part of their story. At the time, same-sex marriage in California was not legal. However, Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi were still going to commit to each other officially. Then, in May 2008, the California Supreme Court ruled that same-sex couples could marry. A few months after the announcement, Ellen and Portia had the most lovely engagement. Ellen DeGeneres did not waste time in announcing their engagement on her show. As Portia de Rossi later described on The Oprah Show, "It couldn't have been more perfect. Ellen was going to surprise me with a commitment ceremony at a joint birthday party that we were going to have," she shared. So we made the date August 16th. On a warm summer evening in August 2008, Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi invited their closest friends and family to their Los Angeles home to drink, party, and toast their love and marriage. The couple read their handwritten vows to each other and sealed their union with rings from Neil Lane. Their wedding completed their long journey together as a couple who had been through ups and downs. "She's taught me lessons about myself, and I feel like I've taught her. We've both changed and grown, and we just feel like, oh, okay, this is completion." 1 month later, Portia displayed her 3-carat diamond ring with its pink pave band. In the months following their summer wedding, Portia de Rossi could not help but think of how much being married to Ellen DeGeneres had changed her life. In a candid chat with People, she admitted that being married had filled her with peace, security, and the sense that she was valid, something she never thought she would be. When Rossi talked about her union with Ellen, you could feel the sincerity in her voice because she was finally seen and heard by Ellen by her side. Marriage is a different way of being together. There's a peace to it and a sense of togetherness that we just didn't have before. And I didn't even realize it would change as much as it has, but it's so lovely. She confessed that the emotions that came with formalizing her union with Ellen surprised her because she was relieved that her mother had graced her marriage with her presence. She even called Ellen her daughter-in-law. A year after their marriage, Ellen and Portia sat down with Oprah Winfrey on her show to celebrate their first anniversary together. And Ellen could not help but gush over the fact that she had found her soulmate. "I feel very fortunate. I feel really, really lucky to have found that connection," Ellen said, her voice filled with emotion. "It feels like you're home. There's an anchor. There's safety." Would their love be sufficient to overcome their struggles? Or would discrimination sever them apart? 2 months into their marriage, a ballot initiative known as Proposition 8 passed the banning of same-sex marriage in California. Ellen and Portia were among the many wounded couples affected by the news. "We cried," Ellen admitted, her voice trembling with emotion. "It was just a bad sign for humanity, I thought. It was sad, and I think it's fear tactics. I don't know how my love impacts somebody else's life. It's just my love." As Ellen and Portia grew together, Portia also decided to legally change her name to Portia Lee James DeGeneres in August 2010 when she filed a request with the LA Superior Court. And surprisingly, her request was approved by the court the following September. So far, Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi have lived quite a peaceful life amid all the rumors concerning them. They even reveal the secret to the strong foundation on which their relationship is built. From their perspective, Portia and Ellen put themselves first, ahead of their careers and personal ambitions. However, that's not all. They also make conscious efforts to express and appreciate their love for each other. We could get 1 or 2 lessons from them after all. This should be convincing enough because, judging from Ellen's words, Portia and I constantly say to each other, "We are so lucky." Sometimes it's lying in bed at night before I go to sleep, and I just say, "Thank you to whoever is out there." It is enough proof. Well, it has been more than a decade since they both got married, and till today, Ellen has not stopped showing Portia all the love in the world. One of her cutest gestures is arranging a special welcome whenever Portia travels alone. They put a huge heart-shaped thing of rose petals on her bed. So when she walks into the room, the whole bed is covered with a heart-shaped rose petal. While Ellen and Portia continue to bask in the euphoria of their love, many fans have long been curious about one aspect of their life in particular, whether they have a family together. The idea of raising a family. Since Ellen's series began, she has been a good kid host, presenting children with an entertaining and childlike demeanor. Ellen has always been able to connect with and inspire kids, especially children like Brielle, who is interested in scientists. On the show, the little cheerful young guest Brielle was welcomed to Ellen DeGeneres' show, and Ellen immediately noticed Brielle's adorable dress as she sat down. She complimented it, and Brielle couldn't help blushing. As the conversation continued, Brielle talked to Ellen about what had changed since they met in 2017. After a moment's thought, Brielle responded that she had lost some teeth. Curious, Ellen asked if 2 teeth were gone and 1 was coming in, to which Brielle nodded. As for the gap between Brielle's teeth, Ellen playfully teased that the gap looked like the perfect spot to put a straw. Brielle then giggled and pretended to have a straw in the gap. While they continued to talk, Ellen inquired about what else had occurred. Brielle then mentioned her birthday celebration, which was a fun-filled day in the snow with her family. Then Ellen asked her what she was doing in the snow. She replied with a bright smile that she went tubing and built a snowman. As they continued their conversation, Ellen noticed Brielle's cool sunglasses and made a joke about her for wearing them to avoid being recognized as a famous person. She then giggled and denied it. Brielle's interest in scientists was something Ellen had heard about and wanted to know more about. So when Ellen asked her if she was really into scientists, she nodded enthusiastically. Brielle was 6 years old then, and Ellen was impressed that she was already in love with science. When asked to tell Ellen about the scientists she was interested in, she pointed to the display pictures. The first one on display was the scientist Antoine Lavoisier, which she had to take her time pronouncing because it's a French name. However, what impressed Ellen the most was when Brielle said that Lavoisier had been famous for learning and naming hydrogen and oxygen on the periodic table. The more Ellen spoke with Brielle, the more she was amazed at the amount of knowledge that Brielle had, including Daniel Bernoulli and Galileo. She even explained an analogy of how airplanes fly using Bernoulli's principle, air flowing over a wing like a slide. Another guest she had on the show, Xander, was complimented for his beautiful hair as soon as he sat down on the show with Ellen. She had heard about Xander's intelligence and asked him what his favorite subject was, to which he replied, astronomy. Ellen was intrigued and wondered why Xander was fascinated with astronomy. His reply was simple, because space never ends. Her curiosity for Xander's love for science led her to ask him about his favorite element, to which he replied xenon because it has an X in it, just like his name. Xander's reasoning charmed Ellen, and she demanded that he tell her more about xenon. He explained that xenon was a noble gas, and when Ellen asked if there were other kinds of noble gases besides xenon, he patiently explained that there were other types of gases, but not all were considered noble gases. She laughed and admitted she was already over her head. Ellen refused to be daunted and quizzed Xander on what he knew about the solar system. Xander did not disappoint and gave answers when she asked him how many moons Mercury had. Of course, Ellen was highly impressed with his knowledge and even asked him to name more galaxies. Xander smiled and said he could mention all of them, but there were approximately 120 billion galaxies. Ellen couldn't help herself at that point as she marveled in awe. So it's no surprise that seeing her chemistry with kids on her show, fans cannot understand why she does not have kids yet. Well, on the 6th of September, Ellen DeGeneres went on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, where she answered rumors that claimed they hired a donor to start their family. Ellen was asked directly by the host, Jay Leno, if the rumors were true. However, she responded with her trademark humor by saying, "I'm here for your sperm." She then said the rumors were false, and she didn't have a child with Portia. Subsequently, she explained that their imaginary child would have beautiful blue eyes, a good sense of humor, and a good shot at getting a show on NBC. Ellen also introduced a funny segment on her show titled Why I Don't Have Kids, which showed entertaining child photos that viewers had sent her. Some of these photos included a little girl who covered herself in lipstick and a boy who was sent to bed but ended up without clothes on his bicycle. Days before her talk show for the ending of Season 10 premiere, Ellen DeGeneres shared, with her signature humor, that she had no problem with kids but had no desire to become a parent herself. There was no contradiction. "No, I don't want one. I don't want 6. I don't want any," Ellen said. She had already made quiet jokes about the expectation of having children in her 2011 books. "Seriously, I'm kidding." She stated that she and Portia de Rossi loved being around kids, but only if they had been fed and bathed. When Ellen DeGeneres and Matt Lauer chatted on Today, Ellen again shared her thoughts on how she feels about having children. She told him that she loved kids, but couldn't hide the fact that she didn't quite know how to introduce the commitment of parenthood to her life just yet. Ellen also sincerely noted the dangers of having a kid, and how if somehow she didn't like the kid, or she didn't fulfill her expectations as a parent, it would be scary for her. Even Ellen's mother, Betty DeGeneres, explained her decision not to have children. In a candid remark to US Weekly, she explained that Ellen's values and lifestyle were out of step and did not quite align with the responsibilities that parenthood came with. Well, it seems Ellen and Portia de Rossi carefully considered not raising children. However, what do you think? Should celebrities be pressured to have children? Do their personal choices reflect on their public image? Is it not so weird that our society is often curious about the family plans of rich and famous people? How well do you think Ellen and Portia's love will stand the test of time? Kindly share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Before you go, explore the other videos displayed on your screen.